Hiya, I'm Alice. I come from a traditional, close-knit family in rural South Wales. My grandparents were an extension of my own parents. The older members of my family care for the younger, and when the time comes, the younger care for the older. Care and respect for the elderly at the end of their life is nothing special. It's just what you do, isn't it? But when both my paternal nana, Agnes, who had vascular dementia, and my maternal Gramps, David, who had Alzheimer's, had long stints in the Princess of Wales Hospital in Bridgend, it's what we couldn't do. I think the staff were doing their best with their limited resources. However, our love for our relatives, our knowledge of them, the reassurance they felt when we were close, was so confined and rationed by visiting hours and hospital protocol that it stripped them of their humanity and dignity. How different Nana's stay would have been if one of us could have sat with her at dusk, her most fretful time of the day, or helped feed Gramps once he had lost his ability to hold a spoon. My last visit with Gramps is etched in my mind. He was in a corner bed of a dementia ward. It was noisy and stuffy. There was no record of him eating that day, so I asked a nurse, "Oh, yes, Dave, you've eaten loads today, haven't you, love? You loved that yoghurt." I asked someone if they'd fed him. They hadn't. Gramps hadn't been able to hold a spoon for months. I can't think that he'd loved his yoghurt. When the nurse insisted on getting Gramps out of bed for a physio assessment, I explained that he hadn't stood for over 18 months. My Gramps was dying. I can't think that walking was very high on his list of priorities. But he was lifted out, placed in the chair, and then I had a, "Sorry, love, visiting's over now." I protested that Gramps couldn't be left just sitting there. He was frail and weak. I was scared that he would fall forward. I can see his beautiful blue eyes now looking at me, those same blue eyes that looked so proudly at me when he showed me how to change a tyre, watched me in school plays and terrible violin recitals. The same blue eyes that looked so disappointed when I had that third ear piercing. Those eyes were now begging me to stay with him. But you see, I had no right to stay with Gramps, to be his voice, his person, his granddaughter giving him the care and dignity he had always given me. Imagine if Bridgend Hospital had adopted John's campaign. If my mum had given me the carer's pass for the afternoon, the overstretched nurses would have recognised me as the person responsible for Gramps, have listened when I said no to getting him out of bed, have let me explain in a familiar family language what was happening and why. They would have let me stay. Bridgend Hospital were phenomenal when it came to the last stages of Gramps' life. His death in a private room, surrounded by his family, filled with love and at times laughter, was in stark contrast to those months before. John's campaign is a simple answer to a simple problem, and I wish it had been there for me and Gramps.